Welcome back to Anno 1800. Today we're going to talk about a couple of new resources for perfect layout and stamps. Don't hesitate to check in the video description below if you want to see the full playlist, because we've already covered a lot of resources. We're actually getting to the last few resources for the investors in the old world. I know a lot of you are excited to see also old world city layouts. Don't worry, this is coming very soon. So yes, today we're going to look at gramophones and steam carriages or cabs, and obviously everything needed to also make them, like the chassis or the wood veneers. But also remember that in the video description below you can find the link to join my Discord community, because in the Discord community you will find all of those stamps for free so that you can add them to your own games. So the gramophones, another production where you need electricity. If you don't have electricity, the building, the gramophone factory is not gonna work. So you need an oil power plant, or you need, gas one, or maybe some items. But once you have that, it's actually not the hardest production out there. In this case over here, we're going to make 2 per minute. And as you can see, we have a great production of wood veneers, a great production of the brass, and we're also making already the wood on site. We will be missing the zinc and the copper that are needed for the brass though. So to make this production, this is 2 gramophone factories. We have over here 1 brass smeltery. Then we have in this corner the marquetry workshop to make the wood veneers. And those wood veneers are requiring the wood that is coming from the lumberjack hut over here. And then as always, a fire station, a police station, and a warehouse to make sure that this whole thing can work without any issues. So as always, this is just the basic one to get you started. Now, instead of looking at the cabs, let's continue with the gramophones and look at a couple of other stamps that are related to it. The first one is just a reminder that if you need a lot of wood, you can use this one over here. You will need a couple of items like the Teutonic Technical Secateur inside to increase your forest density. But as soon as you have that, this is working really well and going to make you a lot of wood. Actually, let me show you. If you have those 3 items over here, and no working condition or anything like this, we're already talking about 152 of wood. So that should be enough for everything you need. Then you're also going to need some brass. So this is the dedicated trade union for brass. With this one, no items, no working condition, you're already at 30. So again, this can help you to produce a lot in an easy way. But that wasn't really new. What is new is the wood veneer and the actual gramophone. So let's look first at the wood veneer. This is the dedicated trade union. If you want to place as many as possible into this range, I don't think you can put even more. Maybe over here this is not perfect. Don't hesitate to tell me in the comments below if you've managed to fit more. I have managed to fit 30 over here. So we're talking about 30 per minute without any items or working condition. I think that's pretty good. But if you manage to get to 31, I'd love to see it. On the other hand, for the gramophone themselves, this is quite a big building, so I haven't been able to fit that many. So I've been able to fit 15. So if you only have the electricity, we're talking about 15 per minute. If you have other items and things like this, you could go a bit higher, but still not that much. The good thing is the reality, the consumption of gramophone is quite low, so you're not gonna need a lot. But still, I did want to show you, there is a layout. If you want, this is this one. And again, if you've managed to fit more than 15, don't hesitate to tell me in the comments below. And there's definitely a couple of items that are quite important for this production. So let's go back into Control T, our item view. First one is Prof Ram Devi that we saw during the light bulb factory episode. This one also works for the gramophone factory. First and foremost, it will provide electricity. Remember, this is necessary, so that's good. Then productivity plus 50%, and then a ton of extra good. It won't be a lot, let's be honest. We're talking about a very slow production right now, so it won't be a lot, but still, it's free stuff. Then another one that you may want to look at is Johan the Inventor, because it will increase a bit the productivity, but more importantly, instead of using wood veneers to make, the gramophone, it will process timber. And you're probably already making a lot of timber just to develop your empire, so that's an easy one. So hopefully this couple of stamps and items will help you in the future for your gramophone factories. But the next good, the steam carriages, is even more complex. Talking over here about first making some steam motors that we saw in the previous episode. On top of this, you're going to add chassis, which has a production of 2 minutes per cycle, and then the cab assembly. So let's look at some of those stamps. First of all, what does basic production looks like? This is the basic one. With this one, you'll be able to produce 2 steam carriages per minute. You have a great production of the chassis, you have enough of the steam motors, you're making actually just a bit more, which is not a bad thing because remember, you will probably need some of these for your ships or things like this. You will need the caoutchouc from the New World, but at least you're already producing enough of the brass and of the steel. I'm also producing on site already the coal and the wood, so we just need the typical iron, zinc and copper. We only have one of those cab assembly line, but as you can see, this is a big building. Then we have 2 of those steam motor assembly lines, 2 brass melteries, 1 furnace, 1 of those charcoal kiln over here, 1 lumberjack hut, and at the top we have 2 of those coach makers. They are actually very slow as we saw just before. So again, this is definitely not the simplest production. So let's try to split it into different stamps now. First of all, as a quick recap, we have over here the motor one, which will require the brass and the steel. So this is quite a bit of space, but with this, you're producing quite a bit. But now let's move to the actual new resource. First, the coach makers. As I said, this is a very slow production and it's actually quite a big building. As you can see, I only managed to fit 16, and given that this is a 2-minute production cycle, if you don't have any items or things like this, we're talking about only 8 per minute. So this is really not a lot, and there's really not that many items. If you type over here the coach makers, you will see most of the items that are available for all productions, like the printing press or ferras. Then this is maybe one where you may want to put Angela to get electricity and sort of double your production, but there's actually one that is better, which is Seraphim, because he will also provide the electricity, so you're covered on this, but on top of this, it will improve the productivity by 50%, and at a rate of 1 out of 3, it will give you some wood veneers, which maybe you want to use then for the gramophones. And the last one that you may want to look at is actually the cabinet maker, which is only a rare one, pretty cheap. We're talking about less than 100,000, but it's pretty good. I mean, productivity plus 30% and workforce needed minus 50%. So with this one and for example, the printing press, you would get to a 0 workforce, which means that then you can increase the working condition without any impact on your happiness. So that's pretty good. But apart from that, I'm sorry to say that I don't think there's a lot of other ways to improve this production over here. And then over here, we have a dedicated trade union for the actual cab assembly lines. This one once again will require electricity, so you may want to put Angela. I have been able to fit 10. If you've been able once again to fit more, don't hesitate to put it in the comments below or on my Discord community. I'd love to see it and I'm sure everybody else would too. The only good thing is it's actually a short production cycle. So, with those 10, as long as you have electricity, you're already at 20 per minute. If you have other items or working condition, can go even higher. Unfortunately, once again, in terms of items, there's not that many that are gonna be very good in my opinion. In terms of items, there are 3 that I want to mention. The first one is, as always, Bruno. Bruno also works on this one. So you may actually want to do it because first of all, it's gonna give you steam motors. So basically it's reducing the consumption or the need for steam motors by a third, by 33%. And on top of that, giving you a lot of advanced weapons. Another is Susanna, because instead of using steam motors, in this case, it's just filament. And filament is just coal. So that's definitely a lot easier to make and a lot less raw materials needed. On top of this, she's also giving you a bit of light bulbs. Probably not enough for your needs, but it's still free resources. So Susanna, the steam engineer, you may want to consider it. And lastly, it's the Get Rich Quick Volume 7 Automation Nation. I know a lot of people are using it for their assembly line, like for elevators, typewriters, things like this, but it actually is also working for the cab assembly line. Don't hesitate to use it because we're actually talking about productivity plus 80% and workforce needed minus 80%. And the only bad thing is your maintenance cost is increasing by a lot. But that's a pretty good deal in my opinion. So here it is, ladies and gentlemen, cabs and gramophones. I know it's mostly dedicated trade unions and basic stamps, but the reality is at this stage of the game, this is really one or the other. There's not a lot of farms and things like this involved over here. So I don't think you can make a lot of beautiful stamps. But don't hesitate to tell me in the comments below if there are certain types of stamps that you're missing. and I can definitely look into it. The next few episodes are also gonna be big ones because we're gonna look into all of the multi-factories at once. We're also going to look at stamps for the cities, for your people, your residences, from farmers to engineers and investors all at once. So I hope you're excited for this. Don't hesitate to smash the like button, and I hope to see you next time.